Many product owners spend their day managing backlogs, writing user stories, and attending meetings. They are incredibly busy. But are they maximizing value? First, they might end up building features that nobody uses. Studies show that approximately 65% of features in typical products are rarely or never used. That's a lot of wasted development effort. Second, they miss opportunities for real innovation because they're too focused on incremental improvements. In this video, I'll share 5 practical approaches to maximize value for your customers. First, start by defining what value actually means for your product. Is it revenue generation, user engagement, cost reduction, time savings? Create a simple value model that helps you evaluate opportunities consistently. One effective technique is to establish value metrics for each of your product goals. For example, if you're building a feature to improve user onboarding, define how you'll measure success. Maybe it's a 20% decrease in drop-off during sign-up, or a 15% increase in feature adoption among new users. For example, Netflix uses a churn metric, which is a single metric and has proxy metrics like number of subscribers, engagement, and growth. Second, stop treating all stakeholder requests equally. Use the power interest grid to identify key stakeholders and understand their needs. Let's talk about the power interest grid. It's a 2-dimensional grid with the vertical axis having the power and the horizontal axis having interest. Now you get 4 quadrants. You get a high power, high interest. You get a high power, low interest, low power, low interest, and low power, high interest. First of all, you'll have to add the people where you think they belong in which quadrant. Now you can start looking at your high power, high interest people. These are people that have power, that can make decisions on your product, ensure that they have high interest, so they will be fully available and be able to give you feedback. These are responsible. The high power, low interest, these are people that have a lot of decision-making power, but they might not be fully available to provide you feedback at every juncture of your product development. And that's perfectly fine. These are the people that you can keep informed and they can make the right decisions at the right time, but they might not be available all the time. Then you've got people that are low power and high interest. These are people that are interested in your product, but they might not have a lot of decision-making power. Well, you want to consult with them, you want to get their feedback, but you want to have their request a little bit down in your priority. And finally, the low power, low interest. These are people that have very little power and also have very little interest in your product. You can have notes available so that they can read about your product. Let me give you a practical example. One product I worked on, we identified our head of sales as a high power, high interest stakeholder. We involved her directly in roadmap planning sessions. Meanwhile, the legal team had high power but low interest. We kept them informed of decisions but didn't need their input in every little feature that we put in. Now that you've created the stakeholder power interest grid, map stakeholders' request to your value metrics. Does this feature actually move the needle on your key metrics? If not, why are you building it? Third, when you prioritize, go beyond simple frameworks like Moscow. Instead, try value effort mapping. Plot potential features on 2 axes, the value they deliver based on your metrics and the effort required to build them. Then focus on high value, low effort items, which I call the value sweet spot. For value, use the y-axis, and for effort, use the x-axis. For each potential feature or initiative, figure out the value that it's going to provide you, and then also figure out the effort that it might take, and then add them to the right quadrant. Now, the things that are high value and low effort, these are your quick wins. You want to do it right now and get some value out. The high value, high effort are your major work. These will take time, but at the same time will provide value. This might be something you might want to consider next. The low effort and the low value, these are fill-ins. Sometimes when you don't have a lot going on in your product backlog or in a particular sprint, you can go ahead and deliver them. And then finally, the ones that are low effort and low value, don't do them. Put them in the bottom of your product backlog because these are items that are not going to provide you a lot of value. And effort is going to be very high. So it's not worth doing it. One team I was working with was debating between these major features. By mapping them this way, they realized one feature delivered 80% of value for just 30% of the effort. That clarity made the decision obvious. The key is to be ruthlessly honest about both dimensions. Product owners often overestimate value and underestimate effort. Challenge your assumptions, get diverse perspectives from your team and also your stakeholders. Fourth, for major decisions, implement evidence-based prioritization. This means running small experiments before committing to building features. One team I worked with saved 3 months of development by spending 2 days testing a concept with users and discovering they didn't want the feature at all. Check out the Wizard of Oz technique that Zappos used for validating that customers will buy shoes online in my previous video. Fifth, product owners should balance short-term wins with long-term strategic value. Allocate your backlog using the 70-20-10% rule. 70% on features delivering immediate value. 20% on major work, strategic bets that might pay off much bigger. And 10% on innovative experiments that could lead to breakthroughs. Finally, I want to share some tips on when you're doing Scrum events. During sprint planning, don't just focus on what stories to include. Instead, ask, what's the smallest thing we could build that would allow us to learn whether we are delivering value? This minimum viable increment approach accelerates your learning cycle. At sprint reviews, move beyond demoing features. Instead, present the value metrics you established and how the delivered increment moves those metrics. Shifts the conversation from what we built to what impact we created. The most effective product owners operate with genuine curiosity. They constantly ask, how might we be wrong about what users value? And then test those assumptions. In the description below and the QR code here, download the Miro board templates that I have for this video. If you like this video, please click on the like button and do subscribe to my channel. Looking forward to seeing you in another video. Bye for now.